Hello dear one, it's Sunday morning and I'm bored. So I've decided to do a video. I'm still a bit fragile. I've had one difficult time actually, and then we've got a full moon tomorrow in Virgo. So the difficult time has been so full of challenges and I'm exhausted. I'm an old lady, as you know, and I've got an old body. mine's, mine's almost as old. So I'm feeling pretty fragile today. But I think it's a saying, because the spirit is willing but the flesh is weak. I thought, shall I do it or not? I thought, well, I've got nothing else to do. And it sometimes helps me to sort of get in there and get the light shining through. So yeah, I'm going to talk about my garden or something that happened in my garden. Fairies. No, I'm sure there are fairies, but I've only got a little garden, but it's pretty. I love gardening. I am really gardening. I'm quite good at it. But of course, now I'm older, I can't bend, I can't kneel, and life's getting very, very frustrating because I can't do much at all. This fibromyalgia. So there are two things here. One of the things that happened in my garden, and also I think I found a new method of healing, which I might have time to tell you. Anyway, I'm in a bungalow and a little garden is belongs to the bungalow. It's only rented. There's a very old shed in the garden, really, really old, dilapidated shed. It had held all sorts of rubbish, and it was leaning precariously over the years. I've been here 6 years, and I knew it was going to fall over because there's no foundation under it. So I thought, what shall I do? Well, somebody would have taken it down for £100, but it's not my shed, and I thought, why should I pay? So I had this acquaintance, I think I've mentioned to you before, the man that cuts the grass from time to time is a little bit well, he is a kind of past life acquaintance. So anyway, I thought he did say to me sometime, if ever you want your shed taken down, I will do it. I thought, well, gosh, that's nice. It's a big job. I mean, it's not a big shed, but it's a big job. I don't know whether he wanted paying or not, so I was in a bit of a dichotomy, really. Anyway, I was so desperate, I rang him. I said, you still want the shed? We had the summer coming on and he jumped at the chance. I mean, some people are very practical, and he's a very down-to-earth practical man, obviously. And he came out with his tools, and I was going to a dentist that day, so I left him to it. And I'm sure there was lots of banging and bumping and thumpings, and he took all the wood away. I mean, he honestly performed a miracle. There was an old storage, an oil-filled heater in there. I said, would he like that? Which he's pleased to have. Paving stones, I think he took. So he was paid in a way, like an exchange, and the garden was full of weeds. I mean, I was getting very, very, this is what the story's about. I was getting very, very depressed because I love gardening. I like to have things fairly tidy. I don't mean, perfect, but the weeds were sort of getting higher and higher. And I thought, I did pray on that. I said, I've got to have somebody to pull up these weeds. Well, you can't get gardeners where I live anyway. I mean, people out of work, they don't want to do gardening. People call themselves gardeners, they can dig a hole and ruin everything else. I've had a few of those. Oh, so anyway, I kept thinking, I can't get down there. So this chap that took the shed down, he said, do you want your weeds taken up? I thought, oh, yes, please. He said, well, I'll take the weeds up for the paving stones. So they did a switch. So it's all very amicable, really. I felt quite proud of myself. I got the shed taken down, got stuff rid of, I'm still had a friend. Anyway, so I had this bare patch in the garden. It wasn't just the size of a small shed, really, and I was worried about it. I thought, what shall I do with it? No good me planting vegetables. I can't get down to them, So it was going on, and of course the weeds began to grow. And they grew and they grew and they were as tall as me. And I thought, I'm sure they're going to be trees, some of those things. They're going to be trees. So I called on my friend, who's also a gardener, and he came round. He didn't know what they were. One of them was as tall as me and had little blue flowers on the end. Very pretty. And a great thick stem. I mean, in a space of a few weeks. I couldn't believe it. It was like something out of space, whatever, magic. It really was. Oh, it was quite incredible, the size of this thing for a short space of time. And when I think that ground had been under the shed for what must have been 20 years. I've been here 6, and the person before had it put in, although she didn't pay for it either. But no, she didn't. She did pay for it, but she didn't have the foundation. So these seeds, I mean, it must have come from seeds. I think it's a miracle. It actually it's caused me to rethink things so much. Not rethink, but to appreciate the fact then the miracles that take place with plants. Well, of course, plants and animals are my favourite things. But these little seeds, they must have been in there for 20 years, and suddenly you've got this tree. I mean, it was becoming a tree, and I didn't know what to do with it. There were several of them, but this particular one is magnificent. Little blue flowers on. Well, neither of us knew what it was called, so I finally found it. It's called mallow, a mallow tree, and they come in different colours. Honestly, where am I going with this? So the moral of the story is basically, that's right, the weeds. So let's do a rewind. Back to the weeds. I was, what can I do? I mean, I was getting so frustrated and even angry when I couldn't find anyone to pull up these weeds. I thought, okay, what's the alternative to this? So I sat down and I thought, well, there is nothing I can do except to love the weeds. I mean, what are weeds? They're just plants that you don't want to have in your garden. Some weeds are quite pretty, actually. Poppies and things like that, you know, they're weeds, really. So I sat there in my little garden and I thought, okay, I've got to love these. I've got to really make sure that, you know, they're not horrible things I want to pull up and destroy. I love them. And they're part of the garden and part of the plants. And of course, it was just after that this friend of mine said, do you want your weeds pulling up? Oh, miracles happen in small ways, don't they? They're not necessarily big ones. Maraji says that. It's not milk coming out of a mountain. A miracle is everyday life with seeds and plants and animals. I mean, they're happening all the time, aren't they? People want signs of weeping Madonnas and what have you, you know, but in the end of the day, it's the little things, isn't it, that show, you know, the miracle of life, really. So this tree... This tree, which it is a tree, a mallow tree, it was beginning to do this the other day. We had a high wind and I thought, it wants staking up. I don't have the equipment or the energy to put this. It wants a big thick stake in it, a rope round it. I mean, it wants a man. This is my thing. Talk to God a lot about this. It's all very well you saying it's not good for a man to be alone. What about women? Men have got the strength, the energy and the skills to go and kill an animal to survive. I couldn't. I can cook a dinner, yes, but I couldn't go and kill it. Not with my spears. So I think women are at a disadvantage on their own more than men. Men can always survive because they can chop a tree down, go and kill an animal, you know, make a fire. They have the strength and the skills. So I was getting very frustrated about this. Where am I going with this? I was right. I couldn't stake it up. I had some ordinary garden string. I thought, I've got to get out there. I can't leave it looking because it was really, and I worry about plants like I worry about animals. I thought, I've got to go and rescue it. Well, I was already feeling pretty ill, which I haven't got time to go into, from another thing that happened with my computer. I was mentally and physically exhausted, which sets off the fibromyalgia. I could hardly stand. So I creeped round the back of the garden in my slippers. I always do this sort of thing. I should have at least changed my shoes. Got round to this thing with my ball of string and my scissors. Have you ever tried to tie anything up with a ball of string in one hand and scissors in the other? You've got to cut one down to pick up the other. And you've got the string and you've got to wrap it. You've got to gauge the length of it. And I thought, what am I going to tie it to? I had some ordinary canes. It wouldn't have done. So the fence had kind of a thick post. I thought, I know what. I can put the string round the tree, drag it across this post, round the post and back again to a tree. I had to do this several times, obviously, and it's still not. I don't think it's going to hold. I mean, there are several strands of tree, and each time I pulled it, because the tree came up, you know, covered in spiders and dust, and I was under all the leaves, you know. Talk about man of the woods, woman of the woods. Anyway, I got it tied up eventually. Whether it will hold, whether your anchors hold in the storms of life, my last video, that's another thing I won't go into. So anyway, this tree is now stable for the time being. And I was looking up about the herbal, because every plant, most plants have herbal remedies, they're herbal remedies. And I thought, I wonder what it's good for. It must be able to heal, because I've got actually qualifications in herbalism, believe it or not. I love herbalism. And I thought mallow, it's marshmallow. Well, it isn't marshmallow. Used to be made from marshmallows, apparently. So that's why marshmallows come from, this mucilaginous in this plant. And I found out it was for coughs. I thought, wow, I haven't coughed for a couple of days. Now that's peculiar, because I hadn't taken the plant, I hadn't infused it or done anything with it, but I know my cough is gone. I've got a continuous cough. I don't mean it's a serious, it's just like a throat chakra problem. Not all the times I cough, got dry. I'm always coughing here and there, fed up with it. And sometimes it's worse than others, obviously hay fever. But this plant apparently is used for treating coughs. Now I think that's a miracle, because I was under this tree talking to it, and it's obviously very grateful to me, and I'm grateful to it because my cough has stopped. I think on that note I better end. I've got so much more to tell you really, but I can't do it. Oh, I was a bit upset with, I think I've said to you, no I haven't. I had so many unsubscribers. I was in tears the other day. I was really almost giving up. I thought, what is this all about? I still don't understand. I think it was the video that I put up about this meeting with a man. It seems you can't mention men on the YouTube. Can't mention men, can't mention sex, you can't mention God. I'm being facetious now. I've overcome it. I thought, I've got to do another video. I've got to break the spell somehow. So here I am on a Sunday morning. I hope you've enjoyed my little treatise, they would call it, or vignette, I don't know. Anyway, dear ones, I'll love you and leave you now, and hopefully you have a good day. God bless. Take care. Bye-bye.